Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today, we're discussing Deep Space Nine, Season 7, Episode 9, Covenant. In this episode, Ducat starts a cult. I think we can all agree it was only a matter of time.
I'm surprised it took this long.
Well, he's always been in a cult, but he's been the only member.
The cult of Ducat.
Well, that's what the cult basically was.
I could not help laughing that he basically invented this role that mirrors what Cisco has going. He has a station, he has followers, he calls himself an emissary.
It was titling himself as the emissary, which did it for me.
Yeah, it's so funny.
Weirdly, though, he actually believes everything he says. Actually, that's not weird. He always believes everything he says.
It made it scarier, though.
Your initial reaction is he's just putting this on for goodness knows what reason. Probably related to his genitals in some way. But no, he really was praying all by himself to the Power Eighth.
When that scene starts, I thought, okay, he planned to meet with Kira, and she's supposed to walk in right now, so he's faking all of this aloud for her benefit, so she hears all of this. But no, that was him praying alone, and that's way scarier.
Every time Ducat shows up, since pretty much season 5, 6-ish, every subsequent appearance, he kind of ups the ante of his deteriorating mental health.
Does not hesitate to try to kill a woman in the airlock.
No, also, okay, I'm gonna go a bit on a tangent. That was disappointing.
I didn't fully understand what happened. Wasn't she supposed to be sucked out of there?
I think the door was opening with air still in the airlock, which isn't how airlocks work. Which would be, I believe, an explosive decompression, which would have been very violent. And yes, she would have been ejected from the airlock, or her highly expanded remains.
That scene left me confused more than anything.
I see what they tried to do, but I think it just fell flat. They couldn't make it too violent or too accurate, because she had to survive for the plot to move onwards. But it's not even how airlocks work. The air is supposed to be removed mechanically.
Well, maybe he did some emergency overrides where it didn't do that part by simply pressing the button.
Fair enough. I mean, we've seen that at least Deep Space Nine's safety settings are not the best. I remember in The Darkness and the Light, Kira is trying to open a door to a room that is vacuum, and they're holding her back.
Oh, right.
So obviously that's an option. That's something you can do. You can just decompress rooms with button press. If the air had been sucked out mechanically and she was exposed to the vacuum of space, she probably could have survived that, though it would have been very bad for her. If it had explosively decompressed by opening a pressurized room to the vacuum of space, then that would not be survivable by any means of the imagination. So they kind of went with a sort of medium, half one, half the other, and it was a bit underwhelming.
They tried to please two different camps, and in the process pleased no one.
Yeah, probably. It's weird that she survives.
You said she survives for plot reasons. I can't remember what she even does after she's saved.
Nothing, but she will eventually regain consciousness,
Oh, there is that threat that she will reveal. Okay.
prompting Ducat to go full cult leader and a little suicide game.
That reminds me, I forgot to look this up, but did this air before or after Heaven's Gate? Or are you even aware of Heaven's Gate? It was.
Yes, well,
Okay. It was a highly publicized cult, but I wasn't sure if that reached outside of the US.
no, that was. I certainly heard about it on the news. It was the year before. I just checked. The Heaven's Gate Suicide Cult was 1997, and this episode aired late 1998. But I think there might be more than just that connection, because the original series, Uhura, her sister was one of the cult members of Heaven's Gate cult.
Whoa.
So in a way, this was an episode about a similar scenario, but our Star Trek heroes save the cult at the last moment. I don't know if there's any connection there, but that certainly sprung to mind.
Mass suicide is kind of they don't own that idea, Heaven's Gate. It's
No, you have Jonestown and other ones before it.
right, but it was what came to my mind immediately when you talked about taking pills and everyone shedding the flesh that ties us to this world.
Yeah, that's definitely similar. I can't see it being unrelated, because it was just a year after that this was written. It was probably still fresh in the minds of many people. Certainly the Hale-Bopp comet was visible for the best part of 1997, which was tied into the reason that cult did themselves in.
Right.
So it was fresh in the sort of cultural pulse.
That would be strange if they had no idea about Heaven's Gate and then wrote this episode.
It's possible, maybe, but yeah, that would be weird.
Wait, what happened? Why did we write this?
Oh, it's really offensive.
We're so far removed from that time, I can't even tell if this is offensive in that way.
I don't know if you can offend a bunch of people that are dead. I mean, you can offend their families and stuff, I guess, but it's got a positive message about suicide cults. Like, they're mental. Don't do that. That's crazy. It's the message.
And some people are secretly mental.
They can't really help this episode be what I think is quite a good episode.
Oh yeah, we didn't even talk about that. I like this episode a lot.
I'm pretty into it. I think without the strengths of Ducat and his just face and Kira's extremely positive attitude towards solving problems, I think this would have been a bit of a clunker. Well, I mean, without that, you've just got a bunch of Bajoran idiots that will believe literally anything.
But this is a subset of Bajoran idiots who will believe even more.
They're worse than usual Bajorans. The look on Ducat's face when he saw that baby.
Okay, that made me laugh, but let me explain myself first. When Kira is kidnapped, he tells her, "Oh, I want you by my side," whatever. And I thought, "Oh, he invented this cult thing just to get some action." And so when the baby is obviously his, I thought, "Oh, he did do all this to get some action."
He wouldn't be the first cult leader to do that.
Yeah, he's not interested in money, not from what we've seen.
Plus, we know Ducat, he can't keep it in his pants. He is a prolific sex offender, basically.
Yet more evidence to throw onto the pile.
Yeah, he kind of is. The great thing about Ducat is there's so much reading between the lines. You could pretty much ignore what he's really saying because you know either he's lying or you know there's some purpose behind what he's saying, and you're just sitting there trying to figure out what's the point of all this? What crazy adventure are you planning now? Something that got weird for me is that all the external shots of Empok Nor were at an angle.
Yeah, that made me imagine that the gravity simulator, whatever, was not installed correctly, and that they were actually walking sideways. I know they weren't because of the stage and what we see, but it kept putting that idea in my mind.
It sticks out because everything's so aligned, which is weird. And then suddenly this isn't weird, that it's just at an arbitrary angle. But then it gets weird because it's always at the same weird angle. But it's not. I don't know. There's nothing else there for it to be relative to. Why is the camera sideways?
The intern messed up. Which way am I supposed to look at this? I don't know.
Rotate camera. Does it mean towards the model or just on its axis? I'll do both.
I get it. They had to differentiate it. This is not Deep Space Nine. Don't think that. But was anyone going to think that anyway? They talk about, hey, welcome to Empok Nor, and then you have all these stupid Bajorans. No one was going to be confused.
Yeah, the first establishing shot was fine. That gave the impression, but the subsequent ones, I can get the problem. If they show it the right way up, it'll look like Deep Space Nine because it's the same model. So they should at an angle. I don't know. Maybe they should have not used establishing shots like that. There was no Deep Space Nine stuff.
Yeah, there was
past the
no
first act.
cutting back and forth, and that would kind of be the only reason you would want to do something like that.
That would be confusing anyway, because the establishing shots would still be too similar. It wouldn't be too confusing, it just would be a bit cerebral. You want cuts and establishing shots and stuff to be seamless, so you don't really think about them.
I want to talk about that scene on Deep Space Nine because I didn't like it.
Okay. The one where they're detecting stuff in Kira's quarters.
No, when they're at Quark's and everyone thinks it's so sweet that Odo wishes he were a believer, but I don't interpret it that way. I thought that was weird.
I thought it was a bit silly because relationships with differing religious opinions tend to go down in flames.
Yeah, when Odo says, "Oh, that's a lot of time. I wish I could spend that time with you." The underlying message is, I don't think what you believe in is worth believing in, and so I can't tag along. I wish you didn't believe in your nonsense so we could spend more time together.
I don't think he was saying that.
No, he wasn't, but I don't think it's sweet that he wishes he were a believer.
Obviously, he thinks it's not true, otherwise he would be a believer. I don't think it's... I don't know. This is why I said it seemed a bit fanciful. That kind of conversation usually doesn't go that way. But then again...
yeah, where everyone is all smiles.
Yeah, maybe Bajorans are more understanding, especially because they're generally apathetic to things.
Well, she has empirical evidence of the existence of her gods. They are real things. They're aliens in the wormhole.
Yeah, it's weird that she says faith has to come first. There's no point. That differs from what she said in the past. In the episode with Mirror Bareil, she lets him see the orb so that he will gain some faith because she wants him to be a Vedic. But now she's like, no, Odo, no, you need faith. Sorry, you can't come. It's like she wants to exclude him.
She doesn't want Odo to be too good at religion and overshadow her. She knew Bra would be terrible.
He's a fellow Bajoran. He'll buy anything. Odo would just point out all the holes and problems.
Huh, this doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, pretty much. There is quite a nice thing about that first bar scene. I know you're going to say it's that Bashir orders Romulan ale, which
Yep.
was previously banned.
Oh, I did not realize.
Well, I'm ironically saying that you'd say that because almost no one would say that. It's because Romulans are in the war, so they can get Romulan ale.
Oh, okay.
Anyway, no. What I was actually going to say, they talk about forgiveness a lot. And a lot of times they start an episode with a sort of reflecting moral. Oh, this episode is about forgiveness. Will Kira find it in her heart to forgive? But the episode was not about that.
That is nice. I like that when they have conversations that are worth having, and it doesn't have to tie into the theme of the episode.
More than that, I think it was a deliberate red herring, because when Ducat turns up and he's a changed man, you might think maybe she's going to forgive him. But you'd be wrong. You would be 100% wrong. She is never going to forgive Ducat for an inch of what he's done in his life.
That's deliberate, yeah. That's good that they set you up that way.
Most important thing is to forgive people. Nope, not Ducat, sorry.
Forgive the people who have wronged you, unless it's the cat.
Well, she has a line about some things are not forgivable. I can't remember.
Yeah, something like that.
She's right.
I don't understand how the cult followers reconciled the kidnapping of Kira. We're a peaceful people who kidnap others and then knock them out to make them believe in us.
They only knocked her out because she did look like she would start shooting them all.
Okay, that's fair, but they kidnapped her.
It's a cult. They probably don't see it like that.
That's some next level proselytizing.
Religious extremists do all sorts of weird things for any kind of odd justification that doesn't make a blind bit of sense. It's not like they're just one day they become incredibly extreme into some sort of religion or a teaching. It's a gradual path, which is why you get these sort of cults where there's one leader that leads everyone along. They start with the easy stuff. Start with saying, hey, the Parathites, maybe they're the good guys, and we got it back to front. And that makes sense. You add a little bit more and a little bit more. And eventually, you say, this baby is magic. Let's kidnap people. It's like, yeah, that follows on completely from everything else. So let's do that.
He did have the catch-all excuse. Oh, the Pirates told me in Evasion they wanted Kira kidnapped.
They may well have done. He's had visions before, not of Paris, but just purely because he's under severe mental duress all the time. He saw Wei-Yun and Damar and some people in the episode Waltz. So we know he gets visions. That's confirmed. And to him, he sees Kira as the Bajoran people. I think the two concepts are equivalent in his mind, as they are equivalent in the way the show works as well.
When Kira win the Bajorans.
Yeah, Kira represents the Bajoran people, so yeah, that's why the cat loves her and also loves Bajorans. So he wants to make her super impressed all the time. And he probably knows he can't, but he does it anyway because he has problems.
Kira doesn't represent the Bajorans very well because she's awesome and they are not.
Yeah. They can be okay. They can be awesome. Well, Kira's awesome. I'm sure there's other cool Bajorans.
No one can match how awesome she is, though. I'm starting to think she's not full-blooded Bajoran.
Oh, she really is Gamora's Cardassian child turned into a Bajoran spy.
There's more circumstantial evidence for that than Kira is Bajoran.
Well, genetics generally is fairly good evidence.
Oh, you could pull those tests with the.
Oh yeah, that thing. They've talked a lot about Bajorans being top-notch artists. We actually see a guy painting. He's doing a really good painting. Well, it's very lifelike. I mean, the actual composition of it looked like something off Watchtower magazine.
The details are good, though.
But yeah, that looked like the cat.
How awful that he was still working on that thing after he saw that Duquette bed his wife.
Oh, jeez. Kira's questioning was so good.
It was so stupid for that guy to let her question him. Oh yeah, this was a mistake. Let's go. Of course that was gonna happen.
What were you expecting? The way she led into it was so smooth.
Yeah.
It's you don't see it coming, and then just bang.
It comes off really natural.
As soon as she asked the questions, the question about did his wife ever pray with him alone? She doesn't need the answer. The expression on his face tells everything.
Yeah. And it's a great question because removed with context, it sounds innocent.
And she got there so quick. That was only her third or fourth question.
Yeah.
And it cut to
She's
the
efficient.
bone. And then she wanted to question the wife. And Fennec fellow was like, yeah, sure, okay.
This will go better, I'm sure.
It went well with the husband. I'm sure the wife will be no problem.
That other interview was a disaster, but I think he'll come around.
Jeez.
He had nothing to gain by doing that. Well, I guess he was so firm in his beliefs that he thought she would see the light.
He wasn't that firm. He wanted to be that firm in his beliefs. It was funny to me at the end when the cat can't find the right provolone, and I know that's a type of cheese, but the provolone or whatever it was. And then when the crowd realizes that guy, what is his name, Benyon?
I don't know.
He shouts out, "Wait a minute, this is his child." Like, oh, really? You don't say.
They didn't know the baby was Cardassian before the birth, so they must have really poor medical supplies and procedures.
Yes, a basic ultrasound would probably show that. But they maybe didn't have any doctors, or they maybe just didn't check for that. Maybe Bajoran birth is incredibly safe naturally, so it's not got many risks, so they didn't
Fine.
think.
I accept your explanation.
Maybe they're all idiots.
That is very easy to accept. It is so gross that Ducat has to grant permission for babies.
It's a good forward-thinking plan by him.
Wouldn't you want to welcome in a bunch of new cult members who are easy to indoctrinate?
All religions make sex into a problem.
What if he suddenly died? Would they just all be abstinent until death?
Yeah, probably, or they'd elect a new leader. I don't know. But all religions generally do make sex into an issue, so you have a lot of believers who are sexually frustrated. Makes them more eager to believe so they can get that sex down the line. Do you have any words from the Paraiths for us?
Yes, these words came to me in a divine vision, otherwise known as the episode. I've always found that when people try to convince others of their beliefs, it's because they're really just trying to convince themselves.
Yes and no. To an extent, yes, that definitely does happen. But I do think a lot of people try and convince others of their beliefs because they believe their beliefs sincerely. For example, people who will go door to door proselytizing, trying to get new members for their cool religion. There's a wide range of why that might happen, but for some of them at least, they believe that they're going to go to super special heaven, and people who don't believe are going to go to naughty bad hell. I think I'm using too many adjectives here. But if they don't get people to believe, those people are lost. So they want to help. They really want people to believe because you're kind of saving them.
It's their duty.
If you found out there was poison in your tap water or something, then you'd want to start telling everyone, oh, there's poison in the tap water. Not because you want to convince yourself, but because you actually do want to convince them.
But maybe you want to convince them because there's a little underlying deep doubt that it's all made up.
That certainly does happen as well. There's a bunch of reasons why people might try to convince others of things they're convinced of.
Yeah, there's not just this one reason. I'm sure there are plenty of people who fall into that category she mentions, but there are other reasons too.
She was very smug when she said it because she knows at the start of the episode she deliberately didn't try to convert Odo, so she had the moral high ground even though no one else there knew that context. And in the instance where she said that people try to convince themselves by convincing others, yes, she was right. He definitely was trying to convince himself and her.
Wasn't she desperately trying to convince the cult followers that they were wrong? So was she trying to convince herself?
I suppose she was, yeah. She knew Ducat was still a big jerk. She just wanted them to see it so that everyone would be in agreement. Because that adds credence to her suspicions.
The great struggle of Bajorans is to have everyone believe the same stupid thing.
They don't care what you believe, as long as it's stupid. On that note, perhaps we should move to the next episode.
Yeah, let's do that.
Okay, let's go.